So as I mentioned, we had invited all 9 councilmen and the mayor. And I want to just make it a little clear, because Jay here is from Carol Burrs' office, and I had mentioned to you that she had told me originally she would be late. What I didn't tell you was she had told me she would go to a meeting first and be late, and apparently that meeting is going to prevent her from coming. So we're sad that she's not joining us, but appreciate her efforts. But as we typically do in meetings that I'm involved in, and many that you're involved in, we like to start off our meetings with a prayer and a pledge. And so I have asked Pastor Gary Jarrett, there he is, from Stewart Heights Baptist Church to open up this meeting with a prayer. And then I've also asked my new friend, Robert Boykin, to help lead us in the pledge. So Gary?
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for your love and your goodness to us, Lord. Lord, we live in the greatest country in all the world, and we are thankful for that. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity just to be able to come and express our questions and our grievances to our councilmen and be able to talk to them tonight about this. Lord, you say in the Bible and your word that our councilmen are really ministers that you put in their place. And so, Lord, I just pray that we would show the dignity and respect that we need to as we bring our questions and petitions to our council people tonight. We thank you for this time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. And if you'll all please stand, and Robert, if you want to just kick us off with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I already told you a little bit about the purpose of this forum, and I wanted to tell you just real quickly about Citizens for Government Accountability and Transparency. Now, you probably all received a little promotional card about our organization. And the CGAT is a political action committee that was founded earlier this year. And CGAT was actually very involved in the city council elections back at the beginning of the year. So we are just trying to provide an opportunity within our community to talk about government and to hopefully improve our government. Our mission, you've seen it on the card, but let me just read it real quickly, is we are dedicated to promoting and supporting limited government, fiscal conservatism, and free markets by pursuing the values and principles embodied within the U.S. and Tennessee Constitution. So that's what a little bit about what we're about. We'll talk a little bit more about CGAT at the end of this forum. But let me just tell you real quickly about our forum as far as the format that we are going to move forward with. We've got 2 moderators, and I want to first thank WDEF-TV for their willingness to co-moderate this forum with us. And we have James Mayen, a staffer with WDEF, reporter, and so we're thankful for him. And then we also have Mr. Greg Juster, who is a local area businessman, and we're thankful for his willingness to co-moderate with this forum. We will start out the forum with the moderators asking some questions. There have been questions submitted to our organization by a variety of people, and so those questions they are choosing. There's probably more questions than they'll ever get to, but they're going to select those and ask the councilmen who are here the questions. And then at the end of about a 30-minute period, we will open it up to you, the audience, to ask them directly questions. Of course, you see the microphone here. We're going to ask you to limit your question or comment to 1 minute, so it gives other people opportunities to address the councilman as well. Let me also, before I forget, let me thank County Commissioner Larry Henry. I've got a councilman on my mind here, but County Commissioner Larry Henry for helping us secure this meeting facility for tonight, and we really appreciate that, Commissioner Henry. Let me see here if there's any other opening remarks that I need to get out of the way before we kick off. No, I think so. Right now, I think I saw Councilman Ken Smith come in. So Ken, if you'll join us up on the stage. And then also we have City Councilman Larry Groen here as well to represent the council. And we did get, obviously I already told you about Ms. Burrs and also Mr. Anderson and Mr. Freeman also declined. They had other commitments they indicated, and as well as the mayor. So we are thankful that the two are here to address your questions. We'll start with the moderator, and Mr. Juster and Mr. Mann, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. Very first question here is, if the city cannot afford to pay their current employees overtime and have cut their retirement benefits, why would the city give non-employees benefits? First, Mr. Groen, if you wouldn't mind responding.
These are issues that I think the city should have addressed beforehand. Councilman Gilbert had raised the same question in previous council before this council came forward, and he did not get any traction on it. So yes, I would think that the city should work towards that end, and we have over 200 part-time employees that have no access to any benefits from the city. And some of these are very long-term, especially those, for example, that are crossing guards who are out taking care of our children on a daily basis, no matter what the weather.
Mr. Smith, if you would mind responding to the same question.
I can answer that in a really short statement. I don't know.
That works. Thank you very much.
That's succinct. I'll have to take lessons.
Somewhat of a follow-up then, if this proposal ends up going through, and they've said the cost is going to be about $180,000, but let's assume for a moment it's like any other government program in the world, and it's going to at least quadruple and end up costing the city another $1 billion. Is there a way to change that? How would the city deal with it? Yeah, you can go ahead and start first.
Yeah. We asked a similar question. As any of you that may have seen the meeting the other night, one of the things that I did mention was that I believe the costs have not been accurately assessed at this point, mainly because we just don't know the total number of people that may be involved in this plan, and really how long we've assessed what our actual costs are. So the actual cost is one of my biggest questions. And the answer that we got during an agenda session when we discussed this from the administration was that every year our healthcare costs change, which is absolutely accurate. And every year we do have to do a reevaluation, not necessarily to change those benefits, to obviously change the budget and the line item numbers to account for any increased costs. So at this point, should this pass, regardless of what the impact is to the current system, I would expect that we would be addressing that in the budget.
Larry, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I can add is that it will have to be cut from services somewhere.
This is a curious question, and I wonder if it might make you both think, as well as people here in the room today. What do you believe is the meaning of the Tennessee State Constitution's definition of marriage? Mr. Groen, if you would mind.
It's very simple, that a marriage is between a man and a woman.
Well, I think that was kind of, I think the question itself answered it. I mean, if you read the Constitution and where it does state that, it's very clear, and when that was put to a vote in the state, that was exactly how the state voted on that as far as the definition of marriage. However, how that impacts legislation that moves forward at the municipality is really more of what's in question at this point in time, I think.
This is a very controversial and contentious issue, obviously, and it creates a significant division within the community. What instances do you see where it's more appropriate for the community at large to vote on an ordinance versus the 9 board city councilman? so that this issue would go to the public rather than a 5-4 issue?
The way that I view that, this particular issue, regardless of which side you're on, is a very passionate issue. There are incredibly passionate people in favor of it. There's obviously very passionate people in opposition. There is not a single person that I have spoken to in months, literally months, that we've been discussing this issue that did not have an opinion one way or the other. I would say that there's probably not going to be another piece of legislation that comes before this body where every single citizen has an opinion or even understands or feels like they understand what the issue is. And because of that, I did ask early on if there was any possibility that this would be something that would be willing to put to referendum and let the people decide.
I'll play devil's advocate here. I was told by someone that if integration had been put up for a referendum, it would have never passed. And that was their reasoning why this shouldn't go before a vote. Now, my answer to that is that I still do not believe that this is an equal rights issue. My contention has always been that equal rights is based upon condition, not on choice. So I have always favored putting this before the people, especially. I just feel like Tennessee has been had a bullseye painted on it for a lot of social issues that run counter to what our traditional values in this part of the country are.
Most policies require that to add a child, one has to adopt him or her. At the very least, will this ordinance require that in order to cover a dependent child, one will have to provide evidence that they are providing for a majority of the child's needs? Will there be any rules relating to adding children? And how about grandchildren that the employee's partner is raising? Mr. Smith, if you wouldn't mind.
My understanding in the ordinance is it's any dependent children living in the household.
Mr. Young, could you respond?
Absolutely. And that also covers the dependent children of the spouse of an employee or the domestic partner of an employee.
I'm going to go off script here for a second, because we've been talking about the money that the city pays, and it comes out of, well, formerly out of my pocket, but I moved out into the county. So, but for the citizens, how are they going to monitor? Are they going to have a department to monitor who actually is having sex and who isn't having sex, so that they qualify for this program? Being less facetious, how are they going to monitor this?
Supposedly, this will only be monitored by an affidavit, which is filled out by those that are seeking the benefit.
That's like Obamacare, so they can't get that right.
Well, I just don't know what to tell you there, as we are depending upon the honesty and good faith of those that will be applying for the benefit in terms of an affidavit.
Do you think honesty and good faith is enough when you're talking about taxpayers' money?
No. For example, that's why we have an internal audit department that is now independent.
Mr. Smith, how do you feel regarding this?
That was also one of my other statements that I made early on, that my concern with extending benefits at this point in time, regardless of what group of individuals they are to, is not just the expense, but in this case, the accountability of such when you're talking about taxpayer dollars.
We had planned on this taking a lot longer through all these questions.
You told me to be succinct.
I didn't actually expect you to do it. Since you voted, you both opposed the ordinance, right? We have some questions for those opposing. We have questions for those supporting the ordinance. I will ask you, obviously, one opposing. Since you voted against the ordinance, do you not feel that you are in fact discriminating against domestic partners?
I'll go first. As I said the last time we met on Tuesday, I believe that there were two pieces to this ordinance. There was a piece that talked about a non-discrimination clause that needed to be added to the hiring practice, and then there was the benefits add. I did not feel that it was based on discrimination simply because I think that we will have more opposite sex individuals taking advantage of this plan than same sex. So to look at it as the entire thing and to claim if you don't support it, then you're discriminating is just not true.
I did put forth an effort to try to divide the subject because I felt that they were both standalone topics. One concerned benefits, one concerned discrimination. I felt that one needed to be done. Of course, I voted against the benefits. I thought that by including the non-discrimination part with the benefits portion, all it did was cloud the issue, and exactly like it did with the chickens. So that should have been totally separated out from that ordinance. So I tried to do that, but we lost that vote 5-4 on all issues.
Let's wrap it up here. Question for both of you, of course. What do you think is going to happen? Very simply, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think that the positions of the 9 council members are very well established. Unfortunately, I don't think any amount of input from the citizens are going to make any difference, and I think that this will pass. 5 members will vote for it to pass, and it will pass. And I also feel that there is going to be an outcry against this, and there will be an attempt to stop this by a citizen initiative, and it's obvious that this has already been reported and it is going to take place.
The assumption would be that it is going to go the same way Tuesday that it did this last Tuesday. However, I would say that if there's anybody that feels that they want this ordinance to pass, continue to contact your council people. If anybody out there does not want this ordinance to pass, continue to contact your council people. That is what we do here. We should be making decisions based on the best interest of the city and our constituency, so please do not ever cease to contact your council person, regardless of which side of any issue, this one or any other, comes up. I laughed on Tuesday. Sorry, I'm taking a little bit more time so you guys are a little bit better on schedule. On Tuesday, I kind of laughed because I was one of the beneficiaries of well over 300 calls just in one day alone. Clearly, I could not return them all, but they all left me messages. I had equal, if not more, emails. That has not stopped. So I am perfectly okay with that. That is the job that I chose to take. And everybody deserves to be heard. If you have an opinion, please express it. Again, regardless of what side of this issue or any issue you're on. This ordinance has not passed or failed until second reading. So that said, I'm not sure what's going to happen yet. Additionally, it was alluded to earlier that we do have a situation where we do have employees that don't have insurance. We do have employees that have had insurance taken away from them. We have retirees that have had promises taken away, all on the premise of saving money. So the most concerning thing to me is if we are going to take benefits to save money, I do not see how we can suddenly start giving benefits and spending that money that way. My concern is for the employees, and the employees that would take advantage of this benefit. I have great concern for them as well. Should this pass, my hope is that it is for the betterment of the employees in this city. And we will move forward as Chattanooga always does. If that is the case, Again, I just wish the best for the employees.
Let me add that today I received more emails and more phone calls. Well, Wednesday, I received more emails and more phone calls on this subject than I had in any single day prior to the vote.
One last question. Were they for or against?
The vast majority was against the ordinance.
We're going to open this up. I'd like to finish with one last question from me. You know, those who follow the news know that cities are going bankrupt because of benefits and pensions. And I don't see how Chattanooga would be different in many respects that we have to watch also. Would an answer to this be that the city covers only the employee? If you want your spouse, friend, dog, anybody else to be covered, the employee pays for it, like most companies do. So that if you took away the spousal benefit, it would just be the employee only. Is that a possibility?
I think anything's a possibility. One thing that may not be clear for everybody, the city council only has 4 employees. We are being asked to make a change to our city code, which happens to be where the benefits are listed, and as such, makes it as though we are deciding what benefits are offered to the employees. Benefits, salaries, things of that nature, those are administrative decisions. And frankly, those are decisions that should be made by the administration. So whether or not the insurance plan changes, really the only impact that this council has on that is really in the budget process as to how much money is allocated for benefits or not. But ultimately, benefits are a decision of the administration in this case and in all in government. We are purely the legislative body, and the only reason this council is even hearing this is because it is in the code and it requires an ordinance change in order to alter the code.
I want to thank both of you guys while I have an opportunity for being here and putting up with the questions. We're going to open it up now to the audience. Let's just see if anybody actually has a question. Just don't come up yet, just raise your hand. Okay. You have 1 minute to ask your question of either councilman. So I'm going to come up there, just come on up, we'll form a line and get started.
My name is Andre Jude. I got more of a statement than a question. You know, this is not Washington, D.C. We just can't go borrow money from China. You understand?
Right.
We just can't do that. And it makes no sense to do this. It makes no sense that, you know, this is not a communist country that people on the board can make a decision for everybody in America. This is just wrong. And because we stand against something, I mean we are homophobic and racist. I mean, just because we have this is our city, this is our state. We ain't got to try to impress the rest of the world. I know people think, well, we want to be in the 21st century, we want to be politically correct. Some things are right, some things are wrong. I'm not a homophobic. I do not hate gay people and got nothing against them. I pray to get born again and say like anybody else. But it's like this, you know, we would try to please a small minority of the people and just discard everybody else. Right. It's just completely, totally wrong.
Thank you very much.
I mean, it doesn't add up mathematically.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you.
I happen to agree with them. You know, they say we're in the 21st century now. You know, some of the things we used to do are better than what we do now. Next.
My name is Catherine Benefield, and I work for the police department, and I want to ask, are we really considering making cuts to the pension of the police and the fire while we're extending these benefits to this fringe group? Thank you.
The city is currently still embroiled in the police and firefighters pension task force. I think all the parties that are involved in that and have a stake in those discussions realize that some changes need to be done to the way the pension exists right now. My hope is that everyone walks out of the room of those negotiations saying, ouch, that hurt, but I can live with it. It does concern me that we continue to cut back on these benefits. We have one of the lowest average pays in the entire region for our police department. In the state of Tennessee, only 3 cities have a lower average pay than Chattanooga, and they're the Tri-Cities. Our firefighters' salary is less than that. So I think that if we're going to cut pensions, we need to have serious discussions about the level of our pay scale, because the primary recruiting and retention tool that the city has had for its police and firefighters has been the excellent pension that we provided for them. And as we take that away, something needs to be done to counteract the long-term effect upon that.
Next question, please.
My name is Robert Boykin, and I'd just like to add, do the mayor and your other fellow councilmen who are not here today, do they take into consideration that law and order is not only held by the law enforcement or the councilman's seat, it's also held by the church? Because as a child growing up, whenever I go out in the streets, whether I'm doing something bad, drinking, or just being a bad old boy, you know, there was always times that I would see a church and I would say to myself, I can't go there, I can't do this here because this is sacred ground, because I fear the Lord. And you know, and if we let the church down now, what's going to be the next thing to come and attack it?
Mr. Smith, how do you feel regarding that?
I can't speak for my fellow council people. I really do wish that more of them would have been here tonight. Anytime that a community organization, regardless of who may actually put it on, wants to hear from their council people, I really wish they would make an opportunity, or make the attempt to be here. So I will speak for myself. I sat for over 2 months and listened to arguments, listened to thoughts, both pro, both con, to this ordinance. And I made no public statement, and the reason is such is it is critically important for me to hear from the people. I need to know what everybody else thinks. I need to know what they feel. I was not put up there to vote just based on my own feelings, my own beliefs. I was there to represent the people in the constituency. So I'm not sure how what everybody else took into consideration, but definitely a great deal of people that came and spoke to this council are very concerned, both from a religious and both from a family value standpoint, without a doubt. For me, my district and the city at whole that contacted me were definitely opposed to this ordinance, and that was a big part of that, of the people that expressed that concern to me.
Next question, please.
My name is Tom Tomasek, and my biggest concern is the people in the government are voting themselves benefits for them and their friends. And I just think that that's unscrupulous, and they shouldn't be able to do that. And therefore, I think, and I agree with Ken, that it should be on a public referendum and let the people vote on this, not let the people who are getting the benefits, I want to vote myself a raise, and you're going to pay for it. And that's all I have to say. That's why I'm here.
How do you feel about that, passing the choice to the people?
Well, I have always been for that. I think that anytime you accept the responsibility of being a public servant, that you should be above reproach. Unfortunately, our recent history shows that we have several elected officials who don't necessarily believe that. And I think that we would resolve a lot of these issues by placing it before the people.
Next question, please.
My name's Barbara Dunn. I may not have, you may have covered this and I couldn't always hear over there, but this ordinance is supposed to be about fairness, and what about an elderly parent and a caretaker, grown child, so they don't get benefits, so do they?
No,
Yes,
ma'am.
No. Okay, so this isn't about fairness. It's about making people same-sex partnerships, heterosexuals unmarried. It's making them, trying to make them equal to marriage. It's treating them the same way. So I think that is very wrong. It's condoning sexual immorality. Thank you.
State your name and will you contribute remarks?
Charlie Dickmeyer. My question is, if they pass this ordinance on same-sex marriage, will ministers, priests, and rabbis be forced to marry these people?
I think that that's a separate issue at this point in time. It might be part of, once this is in place, then you have those unforeseen and unintended or intended consequences farther down the road. I don't see that happening right now, but as you look at this type of societal changes taking place in the United States right now, it could be a possibility, but who could really say whether that? I don't see that this causing that at this point in time.
Looks to me like a strong possibility.
I think we can go to the next question, if you wouldn't mind.
Charlie Weissong. It became evident on Tuesday that without Chris Anderson's vote, this would never pass. And my question to both of you is, the ethics code of the city says that if a participant, let's say a council member, will benefit from the legislation, that they should abstain or recuse themselves. And wonder if you could answer and talk to that issue right there.
That issue was discussed in a legal session as well, and there were a number of people that addressed that. My understanding is that a legal opinion, outside legal opinion, not from the city attorney, stated that there was no conflict of interest. I do know that there has been a number of, well, I don't know about a number, but there have been other complaints filed, and there is additional research going into that. I'm not one to be able to speak to the legality of it. To me personally, I would clearly be disclosing anything if I felt like I had a personal gain, and I would certainly hope that any council member would do the same.
Yeah, Carla Scruggs. I'm a spouse of a retired employee. I've got one no one has thought about. What happens when someone that believes in multiple wives is okay? Oh, you were? Yeah. And how can you say it's not sanctioned? Well, same sex isn't either. So are you prepared to cover the 2 or maybe 15 wives this person will have as a spouse? And then what is being used as the standard or the guide for these issues?
Did that come up in the, I was going to ask that question if nobody else did. Did that come up with multiple partners?
Well, you always hear about having multiple wives. You never hear about having multiple husbands because they're too difficult to train in a pack. So, no. There's been a lot of talk about equity, fairness. For me personally, if you're going to be equitable and fair and we're going to throw out everything that's in the state constitution, well then, to me, we might as well be equitable and fair to someone of the Mormon denomination or Islam that favors multiple spouses. So it's a possibility, and I don't know how, based upon the logic that was used in the discussion concerning this particular issue, the same logic could be used for that also, I guess.
Okay. I'm Bobby Wood. First of all, thank you two for coming here tonight and listening to the voices of the people that's here. The other 5 are not here. They knew before the election, more than likely, that this would be an issue, but the public had no way to vote yes or no on it then. I think now, this is the most divisive issue our city has faced in a long time. But you can be healers, the commission could, or the council could, by bringing all of us together to allow us a referendum on this. If a referendum had been, if even the mention of this had been mentioned before the election, I think several would not have been elected. A referendum would give everyone the voice. Everybody would have to listen to it. Thank you two for being here.
We still have a few minutes. Is there anybody else that would like to come up?
Quick, it's Paul Broyles, work in the private sector and do employee benefits, not health insurance, but other things. Follow up really on Mr. Jester's question. Does the city currently subsidize dependent premiums? If I work for the city and I have my wife on the plan, does the city pay any part of the dependent premium?
Yes, they do. As you add a spouse or dependents, there is a different rate. Just as if you are a smoker, your premiums are 10% higher. But
is the employee paying those higher rates? In other words, we're saying the city's going to spend $180,000. Is it city money, or is it the employee paying it out of their pocket?
We are a private insurer. The city pays 80%.
Of dependent coverage?
Yes.
Okay. I'm definitely with you guys on this, but as we build an argument, I didn't want us to say it's going to cost the city $180 if it's actually the employees funding most of that.
Well, that is why we don't, it's only a best guess estimate on the cost to the city, because we don't know how many dependents might be included on this.
Not happy about that smoking thing either, 10% more. That's not fair.
Quit smoking, Greg.
Quit smoking, Greg. It'd be better for you.
Hello, I'm Mike Wilson. I appreciate Ken and Larry for coming out tonight. I attended the council meeting the other night. Ken, Larry, Chip Henderson, and Russell Gilbert was the only ones that really showed the side that they was looking after the city, that this is a financial problem as well as it is a equal right problem. There was a lot of quotes out of the Bible, a lot of personal feelings, but I want to thank you two, and I will thank the other two for the financial side that y'all are presenting to the people and trying to protect and keep the city's budget in line. And we have, I say we, I'm actually a county resident, but I'm involved with the city, and we need to take care of our policeman's fund, the pension, the part-time employees, they need help. And I just don't think we should extend on out and bring in new coverage when the city cannot really afford.
Okay, I think we've actually addressed that issue already.
Okay.
But thank you very much for your contribution. They
All right.
responded to that exact remark.
We're tough on this one. You get 1 minute, boy. We're tough.
I guess my time's up, but I want to thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
He gets a minute and a half.
I'm a recovering politician. I don't know whether I can handle it in a minute or not. Gentlemen, thank you for your attendance this evening. It's very much appreciated. You know, I think everybody ought to have good health care. We might disagree. Some of us in this room might disagree with others about how we would fund that. But I guess my question, gentlemen, is, was there much consideration by those who voted in favor of this ordinance about taking money to start a new program when the pension for the fire and policemen is severely underfunded? I was involved with the county commission, county government, for about 20 years, and that was always a concern, and we kept that funding to an appropriate level to take care of those people that serve our community. That's what employees are for, to serve us, and we really ought to take care of them both in salaries and retirement benefits. was there much consideration given, gentlemen, because it was a new program? And I think most of us who see government operate or have seen government operate for a number of years know that it's always going to cost more than they project.
That's a good question. What's the consideration given to law schools? If you mind just
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Coker. I appreciate that. Again, I can't speak for my fellow council members as to what they considered when they made this decision. I was very clear in that I considered mostly the financial impact to the city, and that is what I'm there to do, is to be a good steward of our taxpayer dollars. And for me, we have a lot of things on the horizon. It's not just the police and fire pension, but many things we're looking at possibly having to reduce our costs by cutting. But I also looked back. You know, you look back and you see, for example, our police and firefighters who had their injured on duty pay cut 25% so that we can save money. So if an officer comes to your aid and gets shot in the process, we get to send that officer home at 75% of their pay. And let's not forget about the fact that officer probably has a second job just to pay their bills that they get zero pay for. These are considerations about our employees, not just city employees, but our employees that risk their lives every single day to make sure that we're safe. We have firefighters that were severely burned not too long ago. The only reason that they weren't sent home at 75% pay is because of our police chief utilizing administrative leave, and I applaud him for that, to take care of those firefighters, but we can't do it every time. You know, we cannot take from our current employees to give to a new classification of non-employees until we stand back and we really do a full analysis of everything, all our costs of insurance. We make sure that our current employees are fully covered. We have permanent part-time employees with no insurance. We have our retirees that were promised access to the Wellness Center, a facility that was built based on that promise that had been taken away because it was too costly. So I take serious issue with how much we cut, but we seem to be very quick to give. And I think we do need to take a step back and look at that. Absolutely.
Mr. Rowan, how do you feel about that? It is an issue where you're looking to give out money to people while there are those who were promised money before, and the opportunity to benefit who are being left by the wayside. And they're the ones who keep us safe and protect us.
Well, we focus on first responders in terms of this, but any employee that works for the city that gets injured on the job is going to experience the same 25% cut until they're able to return to full duty. It is just beyond me that the administration or the council itself would consider extending benefits without taking care of our current employees first.
For both of you gentlemen, because you've been in with the other council people, and I'm sure this issue has come up in your meetings, the people who voted for, what is their answer to that question? That we're going to give this new stuff and we can't take care of the old stuff?
Well, I don't think either of us can really answer that question. That would be a question that
they didn't give an answer
that they would have to.
How about the representative from the part of the office? Judge distribution?
Come
on. Thank you very much. You just tell us your name and your association, please.
Hi there. The name is Jay Hopkins, and I'm Carol Burr's treasurer for our campaign. And I'm here to listen, not to speak. She's been very clear about that for me.
Yeah, I don't think it would be right to ask Jay to speak for Ms. Burrs.
Thank you for coming forward.
My name is Edwin Dwayne Edgington. Thank you, Councilman, for coming this evening. Keep on fighting. God's laws are immutable. A city council can pass or reject his laws, but ultimately every human being will be judged by him. And any nation that has accepted and promoted this alternative lifestyles, they have gone down in ruins and have never risen again. Please don't let this happen to our city, our state, and do what you can to keep it from happening to our nation.
Thank you very much.
Nobody had a clue what you just said.
He's from South Georgia.
You know, really, that southern accent is so deep, we can't understand it.
I'm from Georgia. I'm still trying to. One last contribution here before we hand it back. Thank you very much. You can end this.
I'm Don Hogan. I too thank you fellas for coming, hearing us out tonight. The question I have is, if this thing, as you expect, passes, is there a process that we still have to bring it back up with the intent of a referendum?
There is a provision in the Chattanooga Charter, it's section 11-24, that allows a 2-week period after the passage of any ordinance for the citizens to present a petition to the city finance officer to oppose any ordinance that is put in place in terms of spending. This petition would probably indicate that there was a desire for the signees to have this placed upon a referendum, which the election commission, the county election commission, would have to determine when it appeared on the ballot. I would probably think it would be August of 2014. Now, the main provision of this ordinance is not supposed to go into effect until July 1st, after the open enrollment period for health coverage benefits.
So we may need to work on that.
I think that that Citizens for Government Transparency and
CGAT.
Yeah, CGAT would probably have something to say about that.
Can we allow Charlie to ask a second question?
Sure. Charlie, you can only speak once.
You can only speak once.
Yeah, thank you,
Only
Mr. Hakeem. Thank you very much. All right, let me say this. The one issue that hadn't really been addressed is this. It isn't just the financial area of the same-sex, unmarried opposite sex. It's the matter of the discrimination says. So we have a sexual orientation, gender identity in this ordinance, which I think is going to create absolute chaos in the city. It'll make people fearful of trying to do anything that's normal. We got all these, but anyway, address the issue that I guess the same. Sure, I can.
Go ahead. I know what I think.
He knows what I'm talking about. The woman going in, or the man going into the woman's bathroom, and because he gender identifies as a woman today, and the woman who's in the bathroom comes out and complains, so she is harassing him because of his gender identification. Is that not right?
Under the ordinance that has been passed, you're absolutely accurate. Someone can a male could gender identify themselves as female and want to come to work dressed as a female and utilize the women's restroom. Yes, under this ordinance, that is a possibility.
Mark. Once again, how about a hand for these guys coming up here?
Do we have one more?
Come on.
Why not?
We got to take back the applause, though.
My name is Stephen Schellebarger. I'm 35 years old, and I have one logical question behind this, and that is, what is the financial benefit to our city, county, state? What is the financial benefit to same-sex marriage? Because if my brain serves me correctly, I'm thinking if we were all gay and lesbians, how could we repopulate our city? So my question is, what is the financial benefit to this for our city?
I don't think I'm the one to answer that. I will share this personal thing with you. I have a cousin who is homosexual, and she was inseminated with donor sperm and had two of her own children. So I am sensitive to that particular issue, but other than the financial benefit, I fail to see where we're going with it. Although, you know, we have individuals in the city who own businesses in the city who are homosexual, and they pay taxes just like everyone else. They deserve respect and non-discrimination just like everyone else. So it's a matter of being sensitive to everyone, and I can say that I didn't get a single disparaging, yelling at me, bigoted, you know, Bible-thumping accusation from any of the supporters of this ordinance, and they are to be applauded for that.
Kenny, do you have any last word?
Oh, do I get a last word?
Sure.
My last words are simple, which is thank you to everybody for coming out to this. Again, this is the reason that all 9 members of the council do what they do, and that really is to listen to the people. Again, you know, I wish more of them would have been able to make it tonight. It is a rare occurrence off election year to be able to sit and speak and address a group of people. And by my tardiness, it just kind of reiterates the distance at which we all went to get here tonight. So additionally, I really appreciate everybody coming out. I am more than happy to answer questions, take an additional 300 phone calls tomorrow if you so choose, to answer anything that you may have on this issue. I'm happy to discuss it. Like Larry, I have received very, very commendable emails from people on both sides. Probably the worst email that I received from a proponent was a friend. And those are the hard ones. Those are the difficult decisions that we make when we're up here representing the constituency. Is, you know, it does affect our friends, and there are feelings that are hurt regardless of how steady we are in our decisions. There is a lot of emotion left in it, and there is a lot of emotion in the people and in the people that serve these positions. So I guess in closing, this is an extremely polarizing topic, as we've said many times. So all I would ask of those of you in this room and anybody else, and I would ask the entire council for that matter, be respectable of everybody. We all have our own opinions. We all have our own feelings. We all belong to this city. We all believe in this city. We all want this city to move forward. We have different ways and different beliefs in how that should be done. But at the end of the day, that's our goal. Our goal is to live in the greatest city we possibly can have, and that's what we're going to be fighting for.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ken. I don't know if this is working. Thank you, Ken. And again, thank you so much, Larry and Ken, for coming. Thank you, James and Greg, for co-moderating the event. And thank you, News Channels, for covering this. And thank you to each one of you for coming out. Now, Ken, I think you said you needed to leave, so we're going to let you go ahead and dismiss yourself. He was the last to get here and the first to leave. I don't know about that.
How'd you work that
Not
out?
an election year. Did y'all hear that?
But the issue has been raised, and I want to switch gears for a minute. The issue has been raised by a number of you, as well as the councilman here, about alternatives. What can be done at this late date? Barring a change in position on even one person next week, assuming it's another 5-4 vote, what can we do? And it's already been mentioned about the idea of a petition for a referendum. And that is something that is a very legitimate, a very legal option that is presented to the city under the city charter. That has been made, that information has been made available to our organization, Citizens for Government Accountability and Transparency, by our attorney. And so as a result of that information, we have moved forward with our attorney to file a petition to be able to put this on the ballot, which is what I believe we are hearing over and over across this town. Whether you're for or against it, this is something you should have the choice to make, we believe, versus 9 people, or perhaps as few as 5 people on the council. So our organization, Citizens for Government Accountability and Transparency, has engaged an attorney, and we expect that within the next day or two, we should have a petition, the draft completed, and submitted to the Election Commission, Hamilton County Election Commission, who is the body that's entrusted with the authority to approve the actual petition. In fact, that's their responsibility, to review petitions, see if they match and meet the letter of the law, and then they put their seal of approval. The way this process would work, hopefully that meeting would occur next Wednesday, the day after this vote next week. And if it works on that time frame, and if our petition is approved, then we would have 14 days from the day of the vote to complete this petition, secure sufficient signatures for this petition to push it onto the ballot. And we understand, we've been told, that if this petition, if we meet the number of signatures, it would halt the ordinance from going into effect. It would stop it. And it would, in essence, as I think Larry's already referred to, it would put it on the ballot, we believe, next August, and give the people of Chattanooga the opportunity to make the decision on this. The magic number that we've been told, and initially we thought it was a huge number, but we've been told it was 4,500 qualified city registered voters' signatures. And so that number, while it may sound large, and it is a large number, originally we were thinking it was about an $18,000 signature petition. So I equate this to, well, first there was Mount Everest in front of us, and now we just have Lookout Mountain to go up, okay? How many of you want to climb Lookout Mountain tomorrow? I don't really want to, but if it's in front of you and it's a way to achieve a goal, and a legitimate legal goal, this is not illegal, it's in our charter, and so this is what CGAT is pursuing at this point. Each one of you have a card from CGAT that was handed to you when you came in tonight. That's just our normal promotional piece for people just to send in and get more information about our organization. But if tonight, if specifically you're interested in participating in this petition effort, what I would ask of you is that you put your name and contact information on the back of that card, and when you leave, hand it to the ladies at the back of the room. Because that is a way, and obviously you can't sign anything tonight, but you would be able to do so once the petition was signed, approved. There's 2 other things you need to put on the back of the card. Number 1, after your contact information, put a star, just a little star on the back, if you're willing to help and assist in the effort to collect signatures. And put a check mark if you are a registered city voter, okay? Because as Jay over here asked me to ask you, and I'll certainly be willing to do that, he was interested in how many people here tonight are actually city residents. If you are, raise your hand. Okay, great. So clearly the rest of us, because I'm not a city resident, but I do pay city property taxes. So I feel like I have an interest in this, even though I can't vote about it. If the taxes go up, it will affect my properties. So obviously, those who didn't raise your hand, you can't put a check mark on your card because you're not a city registered voter, but you could put a star on it if you wanted to help in this initiative. So I would just ask that you complete those. If you have any more information about this or have any more questions, you can email me at and the name of the website's on the back of the card, cgatpac.com. So mark at cgatpac.com, and we can certainly communicate. Over the next several days, CGAT will be releasing more information about this initiative, so that you'll have all the information to either assist or oppose. You know, certainly, this is an issue, as has already been mentioned, it's hotly debated, and but this is our approach to this. We will continue to be civil and respectful through the process. There's no need to get involved in any scuffles about this. I think this has been a very civil audience, and I guarantee you, and I told Councilman Chris Anderson, I encouraged him to come tonight. I said, I guarantee, I stake my personal reputation on the fact that this would be a civil and respectful dialogue. He wasn't here to see it was, but I know that you would have treated him the same way as you treated these other two people, so I thank you for the way you've handled this meeting tonight. Now, so as you leave tonight, of course, I think Larry's going to hang around, and I also want, you don't know this about Larry and Carol, his wife is out here in the audience, but he specifically put off his personal plans, okay, that he was to be out of town today, put him off a day so that he could be here at this forum. So thank you, Larry, for doing that. So with that, I want to thank each one of you for coming. We certainly appreciated your involvement. I think this is, I hope that this is a pattern that other organizations and that the City Council will pursue in the future on issues that involve and interest the community to the level that this issue has involved. It does us no good to talk in a one-way direction. I equated it to the other day. It'd be like kind of my wife talking to me and me never responding. Of course, she would say I do that anyway because I'm on the computer. But seriously, I mean, if you don't have a two-way dialogue, there is no dialogue. You never can understand what the other person is thinking about your statements, and that was the purpose of tonight. We thank James again for coming, and WDEF and the other news channels, and thank each one of you for coming, and be happy to stand around answering questions about anything. And Larry, thanks again, and if you have any other questions for Larry that you want to ask at the podium, please feel free to. Thank you folks for coming tonight. Good night.